So we want to talk this time about what's true and how we determine something is true in the universe. And in a way, kind of look at how we got in trouble with the time, Einstein's time thing. It says, if the only thing that is true and real is something that's in the universe. It says, if it's not in the universe and can't be found in the universe, it's not real. Okay, so we'll have a category A. Category A is the real things in the universe. That's all the real things. Okay. Now we have a second category. The second category I'm going to call not A. Not A. Of course, everything's in category A are the real things in the universe. Anything that isn't real in the universe is in category not A. Okay, it says the things that are real in the universe, we know that they're real because we can test them. And why can we test them? We can test them because all of the things in the universe have to work together. So if we think we have some object, concept, whatever, that is real and exists in the universe, we can prove that it's real by testing it with other known realities. Okay? It says, if it's not real, we have no means of testing it because it doesn't exist. Okay? So, our process of determining the reality of something is one major criteria. When we get through searching, it has to exist in the A category. Okay? The process is we think we find something new, right? We devise means of testing it with known realities. When we fine-tune this and hone it down to where we can test it and prove that it does exist based on known realities, and our descriptions and mathematics and whatever are accurate enough, they describe it, then we consider that it exists in the universe and the universe has validated its existence. And that becomes part of the A category, the known things, an additional known thing that we know about the universe, that we know it's there, we proved it's there, and its very existence in the universe has validated its existence. Okay. Now, if we look at not A category type things, okay, being not real, you can either prove them true or you cannot prove them false. There's no way to test them because there's nothing to test. If as a consequence of proving something true, you learn some knowledge that says something else is not true, that's a consequence of proving something true. You can never prove something that's not real. You can't prove it's not real because there's nothing to test. Okay? You can't prove that something in the not A category is true, and you cannot prove it's false. Well, this leaves it with a very, very powerful situation. We can have an idea that's not true, and we can't prove it's true, and we can't prove it's false, because I just stated it wasn't true. So we're not going to find it in the universe and be able to test it. But people will take the position, you can't prove it's not true, and you can't prove it's false. It might be true. No, that's erroneous thinking. If it's real and in the universe, it may take a while, it may take a long while, But if it's true and it's in the universe, we'll eventually be able to prove it by testing it with known realities. We may have to learn more before we can get to the point we can test it. But if it's true, we'll always get to a point where we can prove that it's true. That's the only thing we can prove about anything, is if it's real, we can prove it's true. We can't prove it's false. We can't prove it's not true. Okay? So if we can end up with all sorts of ideas and theories and mathematics, philosophies that have no basis in the universe, right? They're very seductive, very complex, very compelling. But because we cannot find them in the universe, they are not real. Okay? So if we have an argument over here, argument in the sense of a logical discussion, that sounds very acceptable in that, and we accept it as true, but it doesn't exist in the universe, we're in a really bind, because we'll never be able to test it and prove it true or false, which means it's not going to go away. Okay? All right? It says, if I take the process of proof, what I have to do is I have to find or conceive of something that's real in the universe. I have to go out here and identify it as something real. I have to do the work and prove by testing through known realities that it does exist. And I have to work till I can define how it actually behaves in the universe. The validation for any new concept or that always comes from the universe. You have to find it there, and it has to establish the proof of its existence. We find that proof by questioning and testing, but the universe validates whether it's true or false. Okay? It never goes from the not A to the A. You may have an idea and go over here and find something, but you cannot validate it until you've found it here and gone through the process of testing it, proving it's true, describing it accurately, and what have you. And at that point, the universe validates it as something true. Always goes from the universe. That's the only place. It doesn't go to there. The universe is the only thing that can validate something as real. Nothing in the not A can validate something as real. If you don't find it here, it's not real. Now it's kind of over talking, but here's the situation we get into. We think we found something new, all right? And where's the first place we go? Mentally, we go to the not A, and we start pretending logics and reasons why it may be real and why it might work that way. Our logic stops at the universal limit. Our logic, we can't make decisions past 1 = 0, which is the boundary of our logic, boundary of the universe. But we have the capability of visualizing something existing past 1 = 0. It's one of our greatest abilities, because we can think farther than we can actually determine. Okay, so when we think we came across something new in the universe, the first place we go to is our conceptualization of what it might be and how we might prove it, which rests squarely in the not A. We can come up with all, I think the word was tautologies, false logics for why it might be, but we have to go through the process of actually finding it, defining it, describing it, working up the mathematics, the philosophies, and what have you, and then we test all of that with the known realities, and then the universe will validate that for us if we're lucky enough to be correct, and it can be a long process. Okay? It says, our not A, like I was saying, we can come up with some elaborate propositions, schemes, hypotheses, and what have you. That seem very good, but if we can't find them over here, It's not real. But like I say, the trap is that's almost the very first place we go to try and determine how to describe what we found. So it's not a place that we stay away from. We utilize it. And that's what makes it such a trap, because we can think up a lot of things here that seem reasonable and what have you. Mathematically, it looks right. We all know now that mathematics is just another branch of philosophy. Philosophy is the founding thought that gets us all of our good stuff, and all of our great sciences and that are a branch off of philosophy. But we know now with our computers, everybody's been exposed to those, that we can have something that's perfectly logical, right, and have it be erroneous. We know now garbage in gets us garbage out. Mathematics is the same way. It has that limitation. You can do everything mathematically correct, and if what you put into it was incorrect, the answer will be incorrect and not make any math mistakes. So it's just another tool. Okay? Now, the one thing I know is whatever exists in the universe in the A category can eventually be proven as true. Whatever exists in the not A category, right, cannot be proven true or false. Okay? It says, like I said, that gives us a powerful presence, because we can't, if it looks good, we can't make it go away. There's no way to test it. Okay? Now, if we have a situation, we know to actually validate something, it has to exist in the universe. So if I start out with one of these very seductive propositions that really look good, you know, okay? But I start out up front stating that they cannot be found in the universe. No matter how compelling they might sound, we know that there's no truth in them, because the only truth that we can prove has to be found in the universe. And if it doesn't exist in the universe, it doesn't exist, period. Even though it can be very compelling. Okay? So, what does that, what does that mean? If I start out here and, like so many of Einstein's thought experiments did, he starts out with a rocket doing the speed of light. Okay? So we got a rocket doing the speed of light. Okay? What do we know right then? There's no place in the universe that you could find a rocket doing the speed of light. We're pretty well convinced that you will never find a rocket doing the speed of light in the universe. Now, I'll point out at this point, what we're dealing with, we have to do it now. A million years from now, something might happen. No, we can only deal with what's in the universe right now. Okay? So the idea that someday a rocket might do the speed of light, no. You show me a rocket that's doing the speed of light right now, someplace in the universe, and we can continue talking. Right? We can continue talking in either case, but I know at this point that what you're going to say is meaningless. It has no foundation in the universe. And with no foundation in the universe, it cannot be proved. It cannot be validated, which means that nothing that you're going to say about this is going to end up being true. Okay? Well, that's kind of how we got into the problem with Einstein. His were thought experiments. One of the things that the scientist said to him when he first published his theory of relativity says, you can't check any of these things. You know, and his statement to them was, prove that it's not true. Well, I don't know if he understood what I've just described, but there's no way to prove that what he's saying is not true. You can't prove it's true, and you can't prove it's not true, because it's not real. And the only thing that we can prove is true is something that is real. And that will take a considerable amount of effort to actually accomplish that. So he had a mathematical system, right? Based on not A. When you have a mathematical, or you have a system, any logical system, that can never be found in the universe, I call that, it's an inclusive not A. You can say anything about it that you want, and it could embrace all of not A, but it'll never be real because it doesn't exist in the universe. So any conclusions you want to make about that, or whatever you want to say about it, right? It's like a hypothetical syllogism. If this, then that. Well, hypothetical syllogisms are all considered true, and they have no meaning because they're not based in any reality. But the ancient Greeks considered them true. If this is true, then your conclusion must be true. You accept the proposition going into it. Therefore, its conclusion must be true. So what Einstein gave us, and I certainly by no means have seen all of his work, and never will, he always based it on something that was not A inclusive. He stated up front, you will not find this in the universe, which meant that there's no truth to it. At that point, end of discussion. Don't continue on. We know right here, because if we go over here, we may really accept it, right? And you have no way to prove it because it's not real. And when he told the newspaper people, well, if it's not real, I think, paraphrase, he says, well, the newspaper guy says, what do you think about this? 100 scientists are in there saying that you're wrong. And his statement says that it would have only taken one if they could have proved it. But all the great minds since the beginning of the world could not have proved it because it didn't exist. It's a not A. You couldn't prove it, you couldn't disprove it. It just doesn't exist. The only thing that we can prove is something that's real, and we can prove that it's real because it is real. It's subject to testing in the universe by our known realities, and we can establish if something's true. We can never prove something's false. We can never prove something that is unreal is true or false. So that's kind of how we got to where we're at. So we've been sitting here for 110 years or so, operating on the assumptions that what Einstein fantasized was correct. And this is how truth and proof and that in the universe actually works. If it's not real, if it cannot be validated by the universe, there's no truth in it. It may sound great, it may look great, but I suspect a lot of our mathematical conclusions are not inclusive too. But that's another thing. This is the type of thinking and the logical error we made collectively that got us into this problem with time slowing down. We committed the ancient Greek fallacy of ad verecundum, appeal to authority. We accepted he knew what he was talking about, and we bought it. It sounded good to us. And to a lot of the best of us. But it was a type of argument that could not be proved true or false. There's no way to disprove it. Okay? But it's not real because the universe can't validate it. And any time that you have that type of situation where we start our discussion, if you will, argument sounds like a bad word, but not logic, it doesn't. It says, if that statement up front says this can never be found in the universe, know at that point there's no truth in it. Disregard it. Go back and look for something that's real, and then you have a chance. Other than that, you'll just be lost for another 100 years or so. Okay? So that's how we got here, because he was very compelling. And we liked the idea of the things he was saying. But we found ourselves, like all the other great minds, not our great minds, that we were over here trapped with no way out. I suspect that the only way that I saw what I did and could show that there was an error in it is that he came a little too close to reality. He started describing things in terms of how reality does work, and then it was obvious what he was saying was wrong. So anyway, we have to make sure that our thinking conforms to what the universe says is true. And I guess that's just the process of learning, growing, and understanding our universe.